Good afternoon, everyone. Here's a map of the protest happening with the farmers across Europe. India getting in on the action now. Food spending rockets to record highs since the 1990s. That's 6.4%. Forget it. We're almost approaching 12. German meat tax. I thought it was going to be pennies. 19 cents, I guess, is pennies. Record high chocolate prices. Record high olive oil prices. And the World Bank predicts the lowest growth in 30 years. No wonder people are saving money. Regardless of what's happening, you're going to have to bloom and create your own reality during these times. And an interesting graphic coming out here mapping all of the farmer protests across Europe. I know the news was discombobulated and kind of very dissected. Oh, it's only happening a little bit in Germany. It's only a sliver in France. It's a micro dot in Poland with all the grains. But here's what we're really looking at. Things intensifying. And as we move into Spain, speaking of that, they're back at it, and the government isn't having it. Send in the enforcers. How dare you protect your livelihoods? Now, with all that going on in Europe, guess who's joining in now? India. So you could expect a lot of disruption coming forward in food as the Indian farmers are now pulling the same ace card. We control the food. We control the society. We don't feed you. We don't deliver food to your cities. Government has a huge problem. The farmers realize they actually control the planet now. And speaking of food, well, delicacy, I guess you could say. Historic shortfall in cocoa. And when I say historic, driving prices to the stratosphere. Third consecutive season that the hydrological cycles disrupted there, reducing cocoa production. And we look at this blowing through the 1977 record, not even touching it and eclipsing slightly, but just straight through that. That's a big breakthrough. Commodities traders look at this and go, no, that's a huge move. And another one of your leisure products here, Robusta. If you like the espresso, you're going to have a shaky time at the cup. Record prices hitting Robusta again, pushing through 3,336 a ton. Again, when you see these triple threes somewhere signaling, but $3,336 a ton. And you can see where that takes us up into the stratosphere. I guess those two are sharing chocolate and coffee above where the airlines fly. Moving over to olive oil, Green Line says the same. So I guess this gives you another opportunity to make your own breads at home, that you can dip in the olive oil and save some money on the bread, that you can buy the olive oil. You see, we're going to have to do this balancing act of how much money you have to be able to buy the products you want to consume. Now here's an interesting chart. This is cotton priced in crude oil. We talk a lot about barter on the channel here, so this would be a barter situation. You're trading cotton for crude oil instead of cotton for dollars. And when this certain setup happens, then it seems to be a bull market in uranium and oil. I'll let you figure this one out. You can find all the different charts on your favorite site, match those up, and you'll come to the same conclusion. It looks like something's about to run. So everywhere we look, up and up. The Fed took the punch bowl away from the party again. The stock market's been betting on March rate cuts, but not so fast. Is this why JP Morgan and UBS are calling for a 23% drop in the S&P? The recession indicator's ringing its most severe alarm in 40 years. Call the proud Americans, the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention the Adapt 2030 channel. You're going to get some great in-class service. Also, Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on
with the video.
So everywhere we look now, up and up. So how does this give you confidence that you really want to run out and spend on other things like clothes, TVs, or vacations, whatever it would be? A lot of people are pulling back their spending because they're starting to see things are just tilting a little bit that, wow, things are getting more expensive. And it doesn't look like the genie's going back in the bottle. So that's just one aspect of this, is the pricing on all these commodities running to record prices that you're seeing again and again and again on almost everything except corn right now. So then let's jump into the inflation of the food itself over the entire sector of just food and agriculture, supermarkets, which brings us to 11.3%, a 30-year high in food inflation, at least in the United States. This will run up in Canada as well, a little bit higher up there. But if you look at the percent that your total wages are for food spending out of your disposable income, we're looking at a 3-decade high. So that just means less money to go out in the rest of the economy because it's being diverted into the food sector. That's great for supermarkets, but not so good for electronics stores and subscription services. And this data here comes from the United States Department of Agriculture, Euromonitor. The countries that spend the least on food around the world, and this is 2015, so the 6.4%. And right now we're running up 11.3%. So there's a disconnect there of around 4% So we'd have to find that somewhere, like where's this 4+% inflation? Where did it like really start to hit? Because we're looking at that window between 2015 or so. We're going to try to scissor off a couple years. Oh, 22, 23. That orange line, there's your missing 4.5%. So most of this food inflation has taken place during the 2022-2023 year harvest season. And the USDA backs that up with their price index data. So where does it go from here is the question. I firmly believe that is going to continue moving up toward 8-10% over the rest of the year and into next. But I always try to do this as a balance here because you might think that's really expensive. And yeah, our lives are affected. But when we look at countries that spend the most on food, you got Azerbaijan at 40%. That's the lowest on the list here. Nigeria, 56%. That's literally insane. How do you think an economy works when you're spending almost 60% of your money on food? That's only 40% to pay the rent, to pay utilities, buy gasoline, do all these things. That's why some of these economies are not as thriving as they could be. Can you imagine if they brought that down to 10 or 11%? That would be how much extra money in the economy to throw around if they weren't spending it on food. Look at Kenya, Cameroon, Kazakhstan, Algeria, Philippines. And for those of you who like maps instead of bar charts, share of consumer expenditure. This brings us a little more modern, 2021. It's so interesting that all these, huge mega NGO government websites, their data is lagging. This is some of the latest data I could find, 2021, 22. Hey, we're in 24. I thought this, never mind. On to Germany, pitching a tax hike on meat. Now, finally, the value-added tax has been revealed. How much is it going to be? The current 7% rate is going to be replaced by 19%. So again, the percentage rising on meat. Who would have guessed that they wouldn't want you to consume meat to try to price you out of that market? I don't know. I've never heard that before. It's brand new to me. Only expected to rise a few cents more expensive. A few cents. Okay, a few for me is like 1, 2, 3 cents, 2, 3 cents. Not from 7 to 9. That's 12 cents. That's a huge jump. That's not a few cents. That's you getting taken to the economic butcher shop. This one coming off of strange sounds here. Digging in a little further onto any search engine, you can find that Germany's early stage legislative process commences. So, it's in play now. The messaging was clear all year and last year anyway. Prices are going to go up for these types of items. They want you to stop consuming them. That's the whole point of trying to price you out of the market. Now, one point is They're trying to frame this as animal welfare sense, where I get it. I understand. You got to treat your animals well. So they're saying it's all based on protecting animals that are in these feedlots and in this process of coming to your dinner table. But then lo and behold, I find this, the American Society Prevention of Cruelty to Animals from the 1940s, be kind to animals. Because a lot of people were moving or coming out of the Great Depression, looking for work, this sort of thing. So people just abandoned their pets as they left their homes, which we're seeing again right now. So be kind to animals. And if you do see some strays, try to bring them in, or at least put a bowl of milk, bowls of water out for them. You know, they're just like you. They're thirsty. They're hungry. And they're looking for resources if somebody dumps them on the side of the road. It's a competition world for them as well. And then to add salt into the wound here, World Bank comes out and says this is going to be the weakest growth in 30 years. That's the blue bar on the right. Now with all this extra data piled on top of record price this, record price for that, now we're looking at percentages of everything rising across the board too. Now rent's going to be included in this, and the oil prices are expected to continue above $98 a barrel to the end of the year, at least for an enormous amount of forecasts. It's going to be pushing 100. So now we have rising energy prices, food prices, rent prices, and everything that's included in your life is going to be going up. So how cautious are you going to be to buy products? And in this day and age where we see so much changing so quickly, and the writing's on the wall already, you're going to have to start growing some of your own food. Springtime's coming up. It'd be a great time to get seeds. True Leaf Market seeds is one I suggest. But think about tools. What kind of tools would you want to buy with your money? You know, subscription services, can you do without the movies? Yeah, some people can, some can't. And you got to think across the entire planet. You know, there's people living on $2 a day all the way to the, leisure class. So somewhere in the middle there's a lot of people making a lot of choices not to spend money right now. And then think about how that affects downstream, if you will, of people's habits, smaller stores that are still around after the last 4 years, which was just a travesty of how the big box stores were allowed to stay open, but mom and pops had to close. So you're being kind of funneled into where you can spend anyway. And across the board, I mean, have you looked? There's been so many videos of people doing the before and after 1 year prices at Costco. Everything's up 25, 30, 50%. And now we're seeing it in earnest. They're finally coming out showing you that these food prices are starting to rise up. And before it was a gaslight, like, no, it's only 1% or so. It's clearly not. And if you even are half awake walking through a supermarket now, you see it's not. And you might want to think about storable foods that are at affordable prices today, because next year these 3-month emergency food supplies are going to be way more expensive than they are today. I said the same thing last year, and of course it is up in price. But if you're thinking about how things are rising in price today, next year it's even going to be more expensive. So how prepared are you for emergencies anyway? It's always good to have storable foods around the house so you don't have to wander out into the chaos. Every purchase helps. Keep ADAPT 2030 on air so I can keep bringing this information. My Patriot Supply, that link's in the description box below. Hope you got something out of the video. See you next time. Bye for now.